Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Hal Turner Show, live from New York City on global high-frequency radio stations WBCQ on two transmitters, 7.490 AM and 5.130 AM, as well as WRMI, Radio Miami International, on frequency 9.455, and of course on regular AM radio, KYAH 540 AM, Utah's Talk Authority. This show is simulcast on the internet at halturnerradioshow.com. Today is the 19th day of February 2020. We're live in New York City, and wow, what a day for news. My God in heaven, I can't even believe it. And it's not being covered at all by the mass media. I mean, it's unbelievable. On tonight's show, what I plan to talk about will be the coronavirus outbreak. It is getting very much worse, including here in the United States. And overseas, the cases are exploding in places like South Korea, Japan, and tonight we found out Iran. And this is big, what's going on in Iran. So I'm going to talk about that tonight. We're also going to talk about a horrifying development in Syria. As those of you who visited my website very early today, sometime around 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern U.S. time, saw my programming note about tonight's show, which said there is a situation developing between Turkey and Russia inside Syria, which could lead to direct war. Well, that was like 3 o'clock in the morning East Coast time. By about 3 o'clock this afternoon, it had already started. Ladies and gentlemen, the Turkish army is attacking the Syrian Arab army, which is the official legitimate army of Syria, around the city of Idlib. And the Turks have also begun attacking the Russian military base at Latakia. They are directly firing on a Russian military base, which incidentally is returning fire, as a result of the Turkish offensive this afternoon. I got word about 4 o'clock. 3 Russian generals were killed at the Russian base in Latakia, Syria. One of them was the grandson of Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. This is huge. I mean, this is like a Franz Ferdinand moment. Yeah. What was that? World War I, right? I think. What was it? 2? I don't even remember. Anyway, this is huge. The Russians then turned around and began engaging in airstrikes against Turkish observation posts and airstrikes against Turkish military convoys. Now, you guys know that for 15 years I worked for the FBI, and my final 5 years with the Joint Terrorism Task Force. And I was a national security intelligence asset, and I was granted extraterritorial operating authority by the Office of Intelligence at FBI headquarters in Washington. I was one of the very few who was tasked to go overseas for the work I did for the FBI. And in that role, I got a chance to meet and develop relationships with lots of different people. Some people in the foreign government equivalent of our CIA, some in the military of various nations, many in law enforcement of various nations. And when I was tasked to go overseas, my work for the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force was coordinated with our CIA, but I did not work for the CIA. I say that to say this. I have sources in the Pentagon, and we in the intelligence community have methods of communication which are not susceptible to interception. We have some really neat ways of communicating, and that's important for a guy like me, because even though I am out of the intelligence field, I have no relationship at all with any government agency anywhere. I'm not a contractor. I'm not a source. I'm not an employee, right? I still maintain relationships with a lot of the people that I met along the way. And it is essential that when we communicate, it is a manner that governments cannot intercept, cannot decipher, don't even know exist. And one of my sources down at the Pentagon in Washington, outside Washington, D.C., reached out to me twice today, and told me the United States military expects a full-scale direct military clash between Russia and Turkey. And when he told me this the first time, I kind of knew what already, because it had already started. When he told me the second time, I was like, so-and-so, you already told me this. He says, no. Read between the lines. It's a direct military clash, like full scale. I said, so is Russia going to start bombing the sovereign territory of Turkey? And there was silence. And I think that's a big concern, because, Turkey is a member of NATO. And, of course, NATO is far and away the United States. I mean, yeah, the European countries have some troops and maybe a couple of jeeps or whatever. But, I mean, take Germany. They're so effed up with their military that some of their soldiers actually have to drill with broomsticks instead of rifles. No, I'm not kidding you, all right? This is real. So, for all intents and purposes, NATO is the United States. Well, Turkey was not invited into Syria. They went there over a year ago, uninvited and unauthorized by anybody, because they said they had a bunch of refugees from Syria, and they wanted to make a safe zone so that they could come back, and they were going to come into Syria, and they were going to establish a safe zone. Well, they did that. And they had been working with Russia to make sure that the two sides communicated and that there wasn't friendly fire, et cetera, et cetera. Well, all the terrorists in Syria that have been paid by foreign governments like Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Qatar, they all fled toward Idlib, Syria. And you may recall, early last year, there was a big to-do about whether or not the Syrian army and the Russians were going to go after the terrorists in Idlib, which is in the province of Aleppo. And there was all sorts of talk, you can't do this, it'll create a humanitarian crisis, and you got to find some other way. And so, Syria and Russia backed away from military strikes in and around Idlib. They were going to try to work things out. And then the Turks came in to establish their safe zone, blah, blah, blah. Now, Turkish President Recep Erdogan has announced he will not allow the Syrian government to regain control of its city, Idlib. Well, I'm sorry, President Erdogan, but that's a Syrian city, not a Turkish city, and Turkey has nothing to say about whether the government of Syria, which incidentally is elected by, a democratic process, Turkey has nothing to say about whether the Syrian government controls Idlib. And that's up to the Syrian government. Well, Turkey said that they intend to start an operation to prevent the Syrian Arab army from retaking Idlib. And Russia warned them as recently as this morning, don't engage in military conflict with the Syrian Arab army. Syria is an ally of Russia, and Russian troops are embedded with the Syrian military. Erdogan gave the order anyway, and about 3 o'clock this afternoon, Turkey began attacking. Now, folks, if Turkey goes to NATO because they're getting their butt kicked by Russia, NATO previously told Turkey, you're in a foreign country uninvited. What happens as a result of you choosing to do this is your problem. But you know how the Turks are. They will whine and moan and complain. We're being attacked. We're getting our butts kicked. Our people are dying. The answer that NATO ought to give is pull your troops out and go home. We're not going to defend you in a war that you started. But whether or not NATO does answer that way is the big question. Because those of you who have listened to this program for a long time know there are elements in our federal government and in our military complex that absolutely want a shooting war with Russia. And this could be it. I don't want to go to war with Russia. Russians are like us. America is a mostly white Christian country. Russia is a mostly white Christian country. Why would we go to war with our brothers? Doesn't make any sense. And the Russians threw off that evil system of communism way back in 1991. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the root of the problem for the neocons in the United States. You see, the neocons are basically Bolsheviks. Yeah. And, you just need only look at the last names to figure out who they are. And they are pretty much Bolsheviks, or the children of Bolsheviks. And they never forgave Russia for proving that communism was a dismal failure and throwing it off. So now what they want to do is they want to make Russia the big bad, bogeyman, and destroy them. But it isn't because Russia is bad in any way or any kind of a threat to us, although they are in some ways militarily superior, especially with those hypersonic missiles. But the neocons want Russia destroyed to punish them for throwing off communism, throwing out the Bolsheviks. That's the neocons' motivation. And they don't care how many American troops they have to send to do it. They're willing to fight right to the last American. Well, we should not fall into that lie. Russia is not an enemy of the United States. We can get along just fine. We can do great things together. But I'm wondering to myself if elements within the U.S. military-industrial complex have emboldened Turkey to do this. Because right now, ladies and gentlemen, the way things are going in Syria, Russia and Turkey are at war. All right, you're listening to the Hal Turner Show. Going to take a brief break. I'll be back right after this public service announcement. Stay tuned.
When is the best time to talk to your family about staying in touch during a disaster? When hurricane winds are gusting? When floodwaters reach your door? Or a blizzard blocks all the roads? Or is the best time perhaps today? During a disaster, you may not be able to stay in touch with your family or friends as easily as you think. And it's not always as simple as using your cell phone. That's why now is the time to take action. Go to nyc.gov/readyny or call 311 and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by New York City Emergency Management and the Ad Council.
I'm back. Hal Turner live, New York City. WBCQ, WRMI, KYAH. So, a lot of people for a lot of years have been saying, World War III, it's coming. It's coming. Oh, I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on in Syria tonight? For the last 6 hours or so. Really, really, really could become World War III. I mean, this is so serious. This is like doom. All right, let me go over to coronavirus coverage because I seem to be the only media outlet in the Western Hemisphere that is covering this with any kind of factual basis. Coronavirus. The outbreak in China began in the city of Wuhan. All you guys know that. 2 days ago, drones were deployed on the sidewalks in Wuhan. And these drones are motorized, battery operated. They stand about, 3 feet tall, about the size of that robot from Star Wars. Remember that little robot R2-D2? Well, it's about that size, all right? And they've got speakers, loudspeakers, and the drone arrives at the front of a home or an apartment building, and the PA speakers come on, and they announce that the Wuhan municipal government has adopted a new regulation for the virus outbreak, and that no one is allowed to leave their home at all. The previous rule, which allowed one family member to leave the house every 7 days, is canceled. No person can be out of their home at all until further notice. They can't be in the hallways chatting with other people, and anybody caught violating this will face criminal prosecution. Now, Wuhan is a city of 11 million people. Prior to its original lockdown, a little over 3 weeks ago, the mayor claimed that 5 million residents of the 11 million had fled the city to avoid the lockdown. It now appears that while maybe 1 million or so did in fact leave the city, it appears there may already be 4 million dead in Wuhan. Now, you guys have been keeping abreast of this. If you've been listening to this show, we've been covering it. Those of you who only tune in once a week, this is a little recap for you. All the factories in Hubei province, China, had to be shut down. Wuhan is a city in Hubei province. And then, like 10 cities got shut down by the Chinese government. And then it was 22 cities. Well, now, as I speak, 76 cities in China are on lockdown. Do you know what the population is of those cities? 750 million people. China has more people on quarantine lockdown than live in the entire United States of America. Now, if you listen to the official numbers that are coming out of China, they'll tell you, oh, yes, there's 60 or 70,000 people infected and 2,000 have died. What kind of nonsense is that? You lock down 750 million people and shut off all your factories. You bring your gross domestic product down to zero because 2,000 people died? Hell, 8,000 people a month die from the flu over there, the regular flu. 8,000 a month in the regular flu season. You don't see this kind of lockdown. That's because it is a military bioweapon that got out of a bioweapons lab. It's not a novel coronavirus. They were working on this thing as a bioweapon. And somehow it got out. I don't think it was deliberate. I think it was accidental. I don't think any rational person would deliberately release a biological weapon. It's insane. So I think, it got out because the Wuhan virology laboratory is only like 5-6 miles from that food market where they said that the outbreak began. And then, of course, in previous shows, I pointed out to you that analysis of the virus shows that the envelope protein, the envelope that the virus exists in, was genetically altered. It had 4 different genetic alterations, except this virus was uploaded, its genetic code was uploaded to an international database back in 2018. And if you compare the existing outbreak today with what was uploaded back in 2018, you find out that the guts of the virus envelope have changed, but the envelope itself did not. And there is no way at all in nature that could happen. The virus envelope mutates with every change to the virus. But that's not the case. The envelope on the outbreak today is 100% match to the envelope that China uploaded to the database a year ago. The only way that could happen is if the guts of the envelope were altered in a laboratory. So China is caught. They are caught that this is a bioweapon, or it was created in a laboratory. Who knows? Maybe they were trying to make a vaccine. I can't tell. I don't know. Maybe they were trying to make a bioweapon. The point is, this virus was altered in a laboratory. And China knows what it is because they were the ones doing the work. And that's why they've locked down 750 million people. Can't leave their houses. Not even for food. Now, this virus is spreading around the world. And countries like, nearby countries to China, like Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, Japan, Korea, all have cases now. Tonight, Iran has cases. And they announced this afternoon 2 people died in the city of Qom, Qom, Qum, Iran. It's a city of 1.2 million Iranians. And the head of Iran's health ministry, their contagious disease unit, said the pair of people who died were Qum residents and Iranian citizens who are not known to have left Iran. Now, according to the brother of the one guy who died, and the brother's name is Dr. Muhammad Molai. The victim was 60 years old. He was a teacher. In his whole life, he never traveled to China. But somehow, he got the virus inside the city of Qum from someone else. He had no other diseases or health problems when he died. So, Iran announced today 2 dead from confirmed coronavirus. And the brother of one of the victims said that the victim was 60 years old, never traveled to China, and had no health problems. Pow, he's dead. Tonight, I have just received video. Security forces from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps are now sending troops and military vehicles, including MRAPs, mine-resistant armored personnel carriers, to the city of Qum. They intend to establish a military curfew because they say there's an outbreak and multiple deaths from coronavirus in the city of Qum. Now, it turns out it wasn't just these 2 people. Another video that I have out of Qum, Iran, shows a bus. It's an ambulance bus carrying at least 10 new coronavirus infected people. And I got this video from a source in Iran in front of the Nekui Forghani Hospital in Qum, Iran. And the hospital itself is quarantined. So they have at least 10 new infected patients. And there are 2 hospitals in Qum. One hospital is Kamkar, the other is Forghani. They are the ones dedicated for coronavirus cases. And this ambulance, the video I'm going to put up on my site tonight, is seen bringing 10 people, 10 coronavirus patients in. And this bus ambulance only gets used for that sickness. Now, Iran has put all of their hospitals, the whole country, on high alert. And very ominously, covert intelligence sources have picked up chatter inside Iran. And I'm not going to give it to you verbatim, but the translation, the long and short of it is, they're asking, does anyone else find it suspicious that this coronavirus outbreak is occurring 20 miles away from Iran's primary nuclear enrichment center? And the chatter, which is also, being relayed amongst the government entities in Iran, are openly suggesting that Israel is taking advantage of this situation to sow chaos by introducing the virus into Iran. So the finger pointing is already starting. Ladies and gentlemen, you understand that biological weapons are weapons of mass destruction, and that in this planet, if someone uses a bioweapon, someone else can respond with a nuke. I'll be right back.
Are you watching how fast you're going?
I didn't know I was speeding.
I was going down a hill.
Speeding?
I didn't see the sign.
I don't think so.
I have to go to the bathroom.
My foot fell asleep.
I gotta pick up my kids at daycare.
Is it because I'm driving a red car?
I didn't see you.
My wife's going into labor, sir.
I didn't know. I was looking at a different gate.
I'm not really from around here.
Something must be wrong with the speedometer.
Trust us, we've heard it all. Now hear this. Extra speed enforcement is on Minnesota roads. There's no excuse for speeding. A message from the Minnesota Department of Public Safety.
I'm back. Hal Turner live from New York City. Going to be opening the phone lines in a little while so you guys can get in on the show. The number you'll be able to dial is 201-771-3013. All right, I'm talking about coronavirus. I just laid out what's going on in Iran. Looks like the city of Qom, Qom, with its population of 1.2 million, is probably right now in the process of being locked down. The Iranian military is deploying hundreds of troops and military vehicles, so it looks like somebody's going to lock down the city. Right? Coronavirus. Now, let's move to South Korea. Earlier tonight, South Korea reported 5 new cases of coronavirus, and then they updated again, reporting 10 new cases, and said that the number of patients in Daegu City, let me spell that for you, Daegu, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Daegu City, is growing rapidly. Well, at 8:05 p.m. tonight, Korea modified their reports and said, no, it wasn't 5 and then 10 new cases. There are 51 new cases in 24 hours. 51 new cases in 24 hours. Most of them in Daegu City, South Korea. Now, it is, there's an army base in Daegu City, or right outside Daegu City. It's the Daegu Army Base. The Army Base has imposed a self-quarantine on itself after Army members who attend a particular church found out that several of the people infected go to that church. So now the South Korean Army has had to self-quarantine a base, the Daegu Army Base. It is entirely possible that Daegu City, South Korea, may end up locked down. Now, that's another big city. Let me see what the population is there. Daegu City. Come here, you. I should have had this handy. 2.46 million people in Daegu City. All right. I'm getting a text message now. Sorry about that. So, it is not presently locked down, but there's already chatter that Daegu City, South Korea, may have to be locked down because of the coronavirus. All right, let me move on. Elsewhere in the world, Japan and Singapore still reporting 84 cases in both countries. Singapore is a city-state, right? Singapore is not technically its own country, but for all intents and purposes, it is. It's an amazing, beautiful, advanced place, Singapore. But they have 84 cases. And then the country of Japan reported earlier today, a total of 84 cases. They are desperately trying to get people to, stop the spread, because the reports out of Japan yesterday were there is continuous community reinfection, transmission. So people are giving it to other people, quote, continuously in Japan. So we may see large lockdowns in Japan as well. All right, I told you about Japan, Singapore, South Korea, Iran. Let's talk about China. The numbers coming out of China are complete fabrications. They are totally fraudulent. And this fraud is being perpetrated by the Communist Party of China, because they don't want the world or their own people to think that the political party is not in control. Because for communists, they get their rocks off with power. Well, a lot of people get their rocks off with power, but the commies are the most extreme example. They can't even have the perception that they don't control something. Well, it's out of control. And I told you earlier about the drones going down with PAs announcing to the people of Wuhan they cannot come out of their house anymore. You don't do that if things are getting better, right? So, China, Wuhan, everybody has to stay in the house. They can't socialize with each other, not even the hallways of their apartment buildings. Anybody violates will be arrested. Now, yesterday, 40 portable cremation furnaces arrived in Wuhan. These portable cremation furnaces are inside ocean containers, that can be hauled by a truck. And each cremation container can handle 5 tons of humanity per day. As you know, 5 tons is about 10,000 pounds. So, if you take the average person that maybe weighs, 200 pounds? That means that each unit can do 50 bodies a day, times 40 units is 2,000 dead bodies a day. Just in the city of Wuhan, and just got there yesterday. Well, the numbers coming out of China say that in the entire country of China, there's only 60 or 70,000 infections and about 2,000 dead. Well, if that's true, why did you need to bring 40 portable cremation furnaces to Wuhan that between them can cremate 2,000 bodies a day? If you only have 2,000 dead in the whole country, why do you need 40 brand new portable cremation furnaces that can do 2,000 dead bodies a day? I can tell you why, ladies and gentlemen. The covert intelligence that is available to me from my former colleagues in the intelligence community, from my years with the FBI, now tell me, as of this evening, there are more than 5 million dead. 5 million dead in China, and that's in the last 4 weeks. So, you guys are smart people. Let me ask you something. Do you think China locked down 750 million people because the official Chinese government numbers of 70,000 infected and 2,000 dead? Or do you think the Chinese locked down 750 million people because of my numbers from my intelligence pals of 5 million dead. Yeah. I think it's pretty obvious who's telling the truth. And it's not the Chinese government. It is not the World Health Organization. And the problems, ladies and gentlemen, are coming to America and coming to Europe. I will report the following about America. We begin in Pennsylvania. As of February 19th, today, there have been 3 more flu deaths reported in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania. Now, people die from the flu every year. This is not new. We know this. We all know this. But here's the twist, folks. As of today, there have been, well, let me back up. Last season, by this time last season, in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, there were 2,010 flu cases in Allegheny County, right? Last year. Do you know how many there have been this year? 9,647. Yeah. 2010 cases last year in Allegheny County. 9,647 cases this year. When you ask any of these state level or county level health departments, how many of them were coronavirus? You either get dead silence or you get told, we don't know of any yet. Or you get told, I can't tell you. Now, how many of you still get local newspapers? Very few of us. But many of you log on to your local newspaper's website. I got a little project for all of you. Go to the obituary section of your local newspaper website and put in a search term. The search term needs to be, quote, died suddenly, unquote. And what you're going to find is a slew of things that read something like this. A 16-year-old boy passed away on February 10th in Chatham, Illinois. Joey Sandhaus said he became sick with the flu recently, which later became pneumonia. The 16-year-old was in the ICU. His organs began failing. Oxygen stopped flowing to parts of his body, and he died. 16 years old? If you go to your local newspaper website and search for the term died suddenly, you are going to start to see lots of rather young people died suddenly. Or, if another search term you might want to use, after a brief illness. And you're going to see people in their 20s, people in their teens, some people in their 30s. A very marked increase. Died suddenly. They may not be admitting that this coronavirus is spreading like wildfire in the United States. But when you look at what's actually taking place, you start to see a pattern. Now, we all know people die from the flu. There's no doubt about that. Never has been a doubt about that. 16-year-olds generally don't. 16-year-olds generally don't get pneumonia. And 16-year-olds definitely, generally, don't get organ failure. It's here, folks. In North Dakota, 10 people are being monitored for coronavirus, according to the Grand Forks Herald newspaper. North Dakota is the fourth least populated state in the U.S. If 10 people are there, what are the chances of it not being everywhere else?
About 10 years ago, we were small, just a few of us, but it was exciting. I always dreamt of having my own business. It was kind of slow at first, but things started picking up. We had big plans, but in our wildest dreams, we never thought we'd have this much work. Yeah, with so many businesses caught off guard by the storm, Reed Waste Management has never been busier.
What will become of your business after a disaster? Nearly 2/3 of businesses aren't prepared for an emergency, and 40% of businesses that experience a disaster never recover. Make an emergency plan now, before it's too late. For a free online tool that helps you develop an emergency plan to keep your business up and running should disaster strike, visit ready.gov/business. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the American Red Cross, and the Ad Council.
And I'm back. Hal Turner live from New York City. I have just been informed that the online internet feed is under attack. It is interfering with the online audio, and people are having a hard time connecting. So, what I'm going to do, I archive this show, and I usually keep those archives behind the paywall for the folks who, subscribe for $1 a week. But tonight I will upload that and make it public so that folks who could not get in on the internet feed will be able to listen to an archive. Would also remind you guys that WBCQ has its own internet feed, and there are links to that along the top menu header on my website, or you can go to WBCQ.com. And KYAH has its own internet feed and a telephone feed, and the links to that are also on the top header along the top of my website. The link says listen online, and then you go down, you can listen live while the show is airing, and at the bottom of that it says listen via radio station feeds. All right, so it's WBCQ and KYAH, and I'm going to put the archive up. And folks who want to listen by telephone can do that. And let me give you that phone number for those of you who want to listen by phone. The phone number to listen by phone to this radio show is area code 351-999-5116. All right? 351-999-5116. Let me get back to my coronavirus stuff. I told you just before the break, 10 people in North Dakota are being monitored for coronavirus. Now, there are no confirmed cases yet, but all of those people traveled to China within the past 2 weeks. And I asked just before the commercial came on, I said to you, North Dakota is the fourth least populated state in the United States. If cases are being monitored there, you gotta know cases are being monitored everywhere else in the United States. Let's talk about Kansas City, Missouri. The Kansas City Health Department is monitoring, quote, fewer than 10 people, unquote, for coronavirus. These individuals are viewed as a medium risk. They all meet at least one criteria of the virus, according to the Centers for Disease Control, CDC. And the Kansas City, Missouri Health Department said, quote, we get their names through the CDC. We are told when they're coming back to Kansas City, and we check with them twice a day to make sure that they're not getting temperatures or other symptoms of the disease. The health department said these people are self-monitoring and are, ready for this, advised to stay home. Advised. Let me move along now to another state. You guys out in Washington State, listen up. Spokane. 5 patients tested positive for coronavirus. They are being transferred to Providence Sacred Heart Medical Center in Spokane. Let me repeat that. 5 patients have tested positive for coronavirus. They are being transferred to Providence Sacred Heart Medical Center in Spokane. Now, wait till you hear this. Everybody better pay attention to this. The sources in Washington State, in Spokane, say that the reason these 5 coronavirus patients are being transferred to Providence Sacred Heart Medical Center is because that hospital has a special isolation unit. And here it comes. Quote, it is one of only 10 hospitals in the country with the special isolation unit, unquote. Yeah. See, they let that slip. There are only 10 hospitals in the entire United States of America with the special bio isolation unit. I mean, look, we all know every hospital has an infectious disease unit where they have sliding glass doors that keep that patient isolated. And many of them have negative pressure to make sure that any air that's in that particular patient's room does not come out into the hospital. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a special isolation unit that when the air comes out of that patient's room, it gets put into a laser-equipped exhaust thing so that every section of the air coming out of that room is heated up by the lasers to at least 800 degrees before it's pumped out into the public. That blows apart any bacteria or any virus that may be in the air. There are only 10 hospitals in the country with that specialized treatment. So you folks in Spokane, it's confirmed. 5 people have tested positive for coronavirus. Now, I told you earlier, Singapore and Japan, both at 84 cases. This disease usually doubles in its infection rate every 3 days. So maybe 2.4 days, maybe 3.4 days, but about every 3 days, the number of people infected doubles. Once a particular city goes above 250 cases, it's out of control and cannot be contained. So we're going to watch Singapore and we're going to watch Japan very carefully for the next couple days. see if it doubles and see if they cross the 250 case threshold. Now, Vietnam. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a disaster. Because things in China are so out of control, the border between China and Vietnam is no longer guarded. I have video, and I'm going to put it up on my site after midnight tonight. I have video showing literally tens of thousands of Chinese citizens running across the border from China into Vietnam. I mean, it's like a non-stop flood of humanity. Tens of thousands of them. I got it on video. These people, many of them, are infected. Vietnam, God bless them, like they're trying to be good neighbors. I don't know if that country of Vietnam would be able to survive this. Tens of thousands are fleeing China. It's Guangxi is the state in China that borders most of Vietnam. Now, and it's not just Vietnam. Laos, Laos, Laos. Chinese are fleeing into Laos. They are also headed across Laos to Myanmar and down through both Vietnam and through Laos into Thailand and Cambodia. So all of Southeast Asia is going to be horribly infected. Finally tonight, Honduras. I have video from Honduras showing an ambulance bringing one person who's infected into quarantine. The news reporters are within 3 feet of the ambulance, all around it. It's surrounded, pushing and shoving each other to try to get pictures and video. None of the press were wearing masks. When they opened the ambulance door, guess what? A lot of those press people got infected. They don't know it yet, but they're infected. These press people in Honduras were so disgracefully unprotected. They were chasing the patient on a stretcher into the hospital to get pics and video, and then they put the patient in a wheelchair, and they were chasing the wheelchair in the hospital to get pictures and video. No masks, no gloves. Those reporters, they got to be infected. I think they're infected. I never saw the press act that way. Oh, wow, an ambulance bringing a person with a deadly disease. Let's go get close to him. Boy, are they stupid. Wow. Honduras, your press people are probably infected with coronavirus. You might want to stay away from them. Now, I have a source inside the CDC, and I can report to you tonight that here in the United States of America, 41 states and territories have a total of 427 people under investigation for showing symptoms of coronavirus. I'll be back. For those of you tuned to 9455, you're listening to WRMI, Okeechobee, Florida, USA. For those of you tuned to 7490, you're listening to WBCQ, Monticello, Maine, USA.
Philadelphia, July 4th, 1776. Here they meet to forge from ancient old world ways a new vision, a vision of freedom for themselves and for their posterity. On this day they light a torch, a lamp, a beacon for the ages. On this day a new republic turns spark to flame and bathes a world once dark in hard-won freedom's light. The flame still burns, the torch still held high by words that speak of liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. And there are other words, new words, the words of John Fitzgerald Kennedy. The same revolutionary beliefs for which our forefathers fought are still at issue. The belief that the rights of man come not from the generosity of the state, but from the hand of God. We dare not forget that we are heirs of that first revolution. That is what John Kennedy said. He said, "Let the word go forth from this time and place to friend and foe alike, that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans, born in this century, tempered by war, disciplined by a hard and bitter peace, proud of our ancient heritage, and unwilling to permit the slow undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed." He said, this is what John Kennedy said: "We shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and success of liberty. This much we pledge, and more." The light of freedom still shines. It is our task. It is the task of this generation of Americans to keep it strong and bright. In this task, we shall not fail.
Bringing you the news that the mass media fails miserably to report. Driving a stake through the heart of political correctness. Sending the sacred cows of liberalism scurrying for cover. This is the Hal Turner Show, live from New York City on global high-frequency radio stations WBCQ, WRMI, and regular AM KYAH in Utah. I'm opening the telephones. The lines are presently full. When you hear a caller hang up, that is your cue to dial. Country code 1-201-771-7225. 3013. Let's begin. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
It's your buddy from Rochester, New York.
Jimmy in Rochester. How are you, man? Haven't heard from you in a long time.
I know. I've been sick a lot, and you know how it goes.
You don't have...
Yeah,
Wait. Let me put a condom over the microphone. Can you hear me? Oh, God.
No, that's not that kind of
Oh,
thing.
okay. Okay.
Oh, no. Anyways, I was just going to mention a couple things tonight.
Yeah.
One is, tonight in the debate right now, they are pummeling Farmer Mike Bloomberg right now.
Oh.
They are pummeling him real bad.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, my God. It is freaking out of this world.
Look, he's trying to buy the Democratic nomination. He's a tyrant. I mean, the guy, he told a woman...
He's a racist.
Yeah, and he's a racist. I mean, he told a woman, a pregnant employee, when she said she was pregnant, he told her twice to kill it.
Yeah.
So and then he says, if you want to stop crime, you should put the cops in all the black neighborhoods because that's where the crime is. So I mean, wow.
Yeah, that was really screwed up when he said that too. Plus too about the farmers too. He said, well, if you want to know to do farming, all you got to do is just take the dirt, pull it up, dig a hole, put the seed in, and put the dirt back.
Yeah, I mean, how ignorant.
How can you say that kind of stuff? And these farmers are out there and they're struggling.
I know.
To bring food from around the world, and this jerk has to say that kind of crap.
Well, people need to remember. What else, Jim?
Unbelievable. And we got a little bit of a breaking news story for you, too, tonight. We just found out a guy from Greece, New York, was just arrested after he made two calls, one to Adam Schiff and one to Chuck Schumer, threatening them that he was going to kill them.
What an idiot.
The Capitol Police charged him with... threatening communications, and there was something else that he got charged with it. It's on our webpage, on the not our webpage, but our news webpage at WHCC.com. You can go there and you can actually see it right over there.
All right, Jimmy.
People can get to it.
Jimmy in Rochester, man. Thanks for calling. Appreciate it.
No problem. Yep, bye-bye.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Frank and Kate from northern Wisconsin.
Hey, Frank and Kate. How are you guys doing?
Unfortunately, poor Kate couldn't talk tonight. Her arthritis was so bad she had to take a painkiller.
Oh, boy. Well, I hope she feels better.
Hopefully she'll be okay by tomorrow. And by the way, she made a little something for you. She'll be sending it to you in a couple days.
Oh?
You'll like this, yeah.
Okay.
Incidentally, I read something, probably, a matter of fact, it was the day before yesterday. And it was something on a site that is well known, and you know this person very well. I'm not going to name them. But there was something on there. It was a letter published from a Chinese communist officer.
Yeah.
And he and his wife, and he said his young son had came down with that virus, and he explained how that thing got loose.
Well, let me stop. Hang on. Frank, I know what you're talking about. And I'm sorry to have to be the one to tell you this, especially in public. It was a fantasy published on a subreddit fantasy message board. That is not...
You told me.
It is not real. All right? That Chinese intelligence officer claiming it is a biochemical agent and cannot be stopped. It is a complete fantasy.
Well, actually, what this guy said is he said that the CIA found out that the Chinese were working on this.
Yeah.
They wanted it. The Chinese said no. And somebody within the laboratory was willing to take a bribe from the CIA, and the Chinese army kind of became aware of this. A little bit of a firefight, and the vial got dropped.
Frank, I'm totally familiar with it. I read it. It's a fantasy.
Good. I'm glad you told me that, because I read that and I thought, wait a minute, this thing disappeared. What's going on here? Okay, that's okay.
All right, man.
If I read something that's incorrect and you tell me that it's screwed up, thank you.
See,
I'm happy to know that.
And let me tell you what, I asked the guys in the intel community. I said, this guy is saying this, and they said, yeah, it's bullshit crap. All right, crap wasn't what they said, but they said that none of that happened. All right, what happened was a guy from Harvard University took a coronavirus from a Canadian lab and brought it to China. That's what happened. All right?
I pray to God that this guy gets exactly what
he's under arrest.
Coming to him for what he has done.
He's under
to
arrest.
Humanity.
So, what else, Frank? Anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. I just want to talk to you about that. But Kate says hello, and she's going to send you your little present in a couple days.
Thanks so much. Take care. Good night, guys.
Bye now.
Hello, caller. You're on the Hal Turner Show. Who are you? Where are you coming from?
Hi, my name is David. I'm over here on the west coast of Wisconsin.
West coast of Wisconsin. David, welcome to the show.
Yeah. I forwarded what I considered a very detailed email over to you on February 1st about the coronavirus, and it identifies, for example, the name of the principal investigator, Emerging Viruses Group. Her name is Zhang Li Shi, and details like that, and other things like the China Medical Board and when and where it was established, and the China Health Policy and Management Society, and I'd like to convince you to, if you can, to go back and look at that. It starts with it's a long heading on it, but it starts with virus in Chinese outbreak, and then it's at the end of it's MIT Technology Review. Mm-hmm. Anyway, these are globalists. This is deeper than just Chinese, and like I said, this is detailed. It describes, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, their team, all of these type of things.
I got to tell you, David, I have right now about 3,200 unread emails. I am swamped with emails. And so it's not that I didn't get back to you. I may not have read it yet.
Oh, I don't expect you to get back to me, and I'm certain you would have just a flood of them because you broke the story.
Yes.
And God bless you for doing that, because no matter how loud you sounded the alarm with this one, if it was 10,000 times louder, you still would have been doing the right thing. That's how important this is. But I don't know if I should even say, but yeah, I'm going to do, okay, the China Medical Board, this is just one sentence in this email. The China Medical Board is an independent American foundation which was established in 1914 as the second major program of the Rockefeller Foundation, endowed in New York in 1928, from day one saturated with eugenicists bent on ridding the world of useless eaters. So this is who this woman works for, and so these are globalists that want to kill off the useless eaters.
Well, David in Wisconsin,
I'll resend it. I'll resend it to you.
Please do. I appreciate it very much.
All right.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Uh-huh.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Uncle Hal, this is Vic.
Hello, Vic.
Hey, my brother. I was going to tell you...
are you in Texas?
Yes, I am in West Texas.
Yeah, see, you always make that distinction. All right, dude, the phone lines are jammed, so I need you to pick it up and make your point.
Go to Mission Impossible 2. Today, Professor Francis Boyle, he mentioned the word chimera, and this is very important.
Yep.
Yes, chimera. And it's the nucleic acid, and they join all this thing. But the important thing is that it replicates. So the bottom line here is that this is man-made. It is a bioweapon. The question that we have, was it accidental or was it intentional? Right now, like Apple, Samsung, all these phones, people that have smartphones are not probably going to have another smartphone for a very long time.
All right.
So I leave you with Matthew 6, verses 9 to 13. Lord be with you.
Vic in West Texas, thanks for the call. Folks, I got a 1-minute break. I'll be back after this.
emergency service. All operators are busy. Please stay
God,
on the line
please
for the
help
next
me.
available emergency
He's got a knife.
You have reached the 911 emergency service. All operators are busy. Please stay on the line for the next available emergency operator. You have reached the 911 emergency service. All operators are busy. Please stay on.
911 operator, what's your emergency, please? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Last year in the United States, thousands and thousands of 911 calls went unanswered. And if you call from a cell phone, there's no way to pinpoint where you are. Yet politicians like Dianne Feinstein call for more gun control. We have one question. Why do these politicians have armed bodyguards? Can't they just call 911?
Support this advertising. Send checks to Citizens of America. 2118 Wilshire Boulevard, number 447, Santa Monica, California, 90403, or go to citizensofamerica.org.
And I'm back. Hal Turner live from New York City. You know, my website, halturnerradioshow.com, on February 1, published a story saying it's entitled Proof. The novel coronavirus infecting the world is a military bioweapon developed by China's army. So today is the 19th of February. 18 days ago, my website, to my knowledge, was the first and only website in the world that revealed that this was a biological weapon developed by China's army, and the article has the proof for everyone to see. 115,000 people have read that article. So this radio show and my website is cutting edge stuff. Top-notch research, cutting edge news. Let me go back to the phones. Hello, caller. You're on the Hal Turner Show. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Jan from Iowa. How are you?
Jan in Iowa. Welcome.
Okay. They're doing the same thing they did with the Spanish flu. The Spanish flu originated on a military base in Kansas. Spain was just the first newspaper people to put that out. So they called it the Spanish flu. Everybody associates Spanish flu with Spain, and that's not true. World War I, everyone was developing all these weapons. It was the thing to do. Nearly killed my great uncle while he was on the military base.
I don't know. Maybe.
Before the flu was known. Because he was sent home because of it. Recover, go home. Yeah, he didn't get to go overseas.
Well, I hope they're not going to call this. I hope they're not going to call this the Hal Turner flu.
No, I don't think so. I think they'll come up with some wonderful name for it, I'm sure.
All right, Jen, anything else?
Russia.
What about it?
Really? Russia is our friend? Really?
I think so.
Hal Turner.
Oh, what?
First off, their leader is ex-KGB.
Yep.
And so is a bunch of their other politics. Now, I'm not saying the Russian people. They're probably just like everybody else running around the world.
Yep.
Their leaders are doing one thing, telling them something else.
Well, I believe that.
Yes, but Russia is not a friend. China is not a friend.
Oh, I know China.
Is not, and France is not our friend.
All right, Jan.
Yeah, they're not our friends. Anyway, God bless. 441 people the CDC are looking at. But if you read around, you'll see where states are saying they're watching so many others. The CDC is watching them. That means they think they have this disease.
I know.
They said they weren't going to do it unless they had some connection that they think they had it.
Yep, I got you.
Yeah.
All right, then.
My sister thinks that this is just going to go away. This isn't going to go away.
I don't think so.
No. All right. I will talk to you later.
Thank you, Jan.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
God bless.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye. See, I got chewed out. You heard it. Hal, Russia is not our friend. It happened right there in public. I got chastised. All right. Duly noted. Hello, caller. You are on the Hal Turner Show. Who are you? Where are you calling from? Hello?
Hello?
Yes?
Hello?
Yes.
Hi. This is Al from Baltimore. Hi, Al.
Al in Baltimore. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, well, thank you. Listen, here's a story. I bought a rice cooker, and it came in the mail today, and I opened it up. It came from Amazon. And I opened it up and was looking at it, checking it out. And then just for the heck of it, I turned it upside down. And sure enough, the label said made in China.
Right.
So what I'm wondering is there any chance, do you think there might be some virus on that rice cooker?
It depends on when it was made and when it was shipped. But the simplest thing to do is wash it.
Okay.
All right. And then wash your hands. Throw out all the packaging. And then go wash your hands, take a shower, and wash it. You'll be fine.
Okay.
All right? Because the virus is microscopic, man. It doesn't do well under a water faucet, right? The stuff go right down the drain. Wash it good.
Well, I'm just wondering because, there's a heck of a lot of stuff coming to the United States from China, and I'm just wondering if...
Well, not anymore, all right? No shipping. None. No ocean container ships at all have left China to come to the United States in at least the last 72 hours. None. So it has cut off. But you raise a great point. Can products or packages from China be infected with coronavirus? The answer is yes. This virus sheds from infected people, from their throat and from their nose before they get symptoms. So if these people breathe on a package or a product, or if they sneeze, or if they cough, it gets on the package. Now, coronavirus can live at least 9 days on a non-porous surface. The most they know of it living is 28 days. So yes, any delivery or packages you get from China can have coronavirus in them or on them. You need to be very, very careful about any shipments that you're getting from China.
Okay.
All righty.
Well, thank you for the advice.
All right. Alan Baltimore, thanks for calling. Hello, caller. You're on the Hal Turner Show. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
It's Pastor Sam in Texas.
Pastor Sam in Texas. How are you?
I'm all right. I haven't started sniffling and sneezing yet. The Lord will protect us, I believe. But, hey, it's the apocalypse. I really wanted to talk about this Russian-Syrian situation.
Yeah.
And came out in CNN today that the president has called home our ambassador to Germany, Richard Grinnell, and has appointed him the head of national intelligence. Now, just for a little bit of background, he hasn't been the ambassador there very long. And when he was appointed some months ago, it was widely touted as the very first appointment of an openly gay U.S. ambassador to a foreign country.
Right.
Groundbreaking. But the German people were not happy about this.
Yeah.
They thought this to be an affront. They paraded in the streets. Many officials even refused to meet with Richard Grinnell. So the article today, of course, on CNN Fake News is, he's so lauded and so awarded as an ambassador. This modern nation rejected him as ambassador because they are opposed to this experiment of having an openly gay homosexual man represent the United States. They didn't believe that represented the broad spectrum of their nation and their interests, nor our nation or our interests. So he's been called back, and Germany is the real power behind the European Union and the European side of NATO. And for biblical scholars, we see Germany as just being very, very central, that the German-Vatican connection is what Europe is made of. And so Russia is really rattling the saber against that with their attacks on Turkish military troops and equipment in Syria. And so this really upsets the apple cart of the European response. And I'm glad that he's no longer the ambassador to Germany, but now this is the guy who's going to be in charge of the U.S. intelligence. Very powerful position. And I don't know what Trump is thinking, because it is not a representation of our historic values. It's not a representation of our military values. And if the president was wise, he would cease from these kind of forward-thinking, progressive social experiments. It's not good for our country, and it is totally unbiblical.
All right, Sam, you are correct, and I understand and respect your view. But let me ask you a question. Do you really care who a consenting adult sleeps with?
I got a big problem with fornicators. You know, everybody wants to bait me out and for me to make a clear statement, or even to read a part of the Bible which makes numerous clear statements of the errant nature of homosexuality, bestiality, and incest. All these progressive modern things. You know, it used to be everybody knew back in the 80s and the 70s that there were goats in the frat rooms at Yale and Harvard. So as forward-thinking as that is considered to be, as liberal and progressive, it's totally unbiblical. And yes, I care because it is deviance. And what the Bible says, it puts this sin in a separate category from all other things. And it says it is a confusion.
Yes.
It's a confusion. And during the times of don't ask, don't tell, the greatest fear of a submariner was to know that 2, 3, 4 guys on his boat were practicing, and that when they went to shore, they were never heard from. They kept it all quiet, because if they told, they would be ejected for the military for security concerns. And perhaps that was back, as Trump would say, when we were smart, when we considered what was beneficial for our military and what provided a cohesive fighting force against our enemies, which is the godless and the deviant of the world. Even the word bastard, which is so, that's just in the vernacular now, but it used to be go right along with commie, because we knew that the heathen enemies of the United States and Britain and the Western world were people that did not understand family, and they didn't grow up in a loving environment, and they did not come from parents who were covenanted, whether joined by God or by a social contract, for life. And so that used to be the description of the enemy, and now that enemy is in charge of our national intelligence. Mr. Trump, stop it. It is unbiblical. It's ungodly. Get rid of this guy.
Pastor Sam in Texas, thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it. Hello, caller. You're on the Hal Turner Show. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hello, is this me?
Yeah, it's you.
Okay, this is April in Detroit.
April in Detroit. Welcome.
Hi. I'd just like to laugh for a little bit at the Diamond Princess.
Sure.
Okay. Now, since I have a shortwave radio, sometimes I listen to 6105 kilohertz from France. That's a relay of the Japanese broadcaster NHK.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can understand some Japanese. And the talking heads on the NHK discussion shows, they talk about the Diamond Princess, and what would happen if Corona-chan came loose in Japan.
Yeah.
And lately, more so lately, they've been, if you think between the lines, or listen between the lines of what they're saying, they come across as scared shitless.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I'm not fluent in Japanese, but from what I can tell, there's this slight panic in their voices, and these are supposed to be, people who go the rounds of talking head shows. But,
right. Yep.
It's really disconcerting, especially from Japanese media.
Yeah. Well, let me ditch this break because I don't want to interrupt your train of thought. Now, April, wait a second.
Oh, okay.
I am not a, superstar broadcaster. I've been on TV and stuff, but I'm just a regular guy. And I'm scared shitless of this thing because this virus is man-manipulated. And when people try to play God, they really have no idea what the end results of their work could actually be. We are already right. We are already seeing supply chain disruptions. Auto assembly plants are having to shut down for lack of parts because all the factories in China are shut down. Walmarts are starting to have empty sections of store shelves because their inventory is being sold out. Yeah. And this is going to get worse. And so we have to prepare as Americans. We have to have emergency food, emergency water, extra medicines if we need them to live on. Do you know 80% of our antibiotics are made in China?
I'm surprised that the estimate is that low.
Yeah, well, I think you were right. But the point I'm trying to make is it's not just the high mortality rate from the disease itself. This disease is wreaking havoc on the supply chain. And even though when you go to the supermarket, everything looks fine, it is not going to be that way for another couple of weeks. In another couple of weeks, we're going to have real shortages. And there is a reason to be afraid of this thing, not just because it spreads so easy, spreads by air, spreads coughing, sneezing, body fluids, urination, bowel movements. The contaminated crap goes down in the sewer and evaporates up through the manholes on the street. No, it does.
I believe you. That's the horrible part.
Right, so this is really, really bad, and it's going to get really, really dangerous. So I understand people being scared, and I'm scared. I know about, Psalm 91, do not be afraid, seek shelter in the Lord. I'm still a man, and I look at this thing, and I see people, young people dropping dead on the street in China, and it scares me. So, anyway, I appreciate you bringing that to our attention, April, in Detroit.
All right.
Thanks.
Stay right with your God, man.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Folks, the lines are open, 201-771-3013. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Hal. This is Billy in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Oh, Billy in North Dakota. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. Hey, I went to college in Grand Forks where they have the, where you talked about that earlier tonight. They have, my youngest son lives up there with his family. It's kind of a surprise, but I don't know. I don't know what to think. My daughter lives in a nearby town called Mayville, and one of the doctors in Grand Forks is actually from Mayville. So that's interesting how, you hear about so many medical professionals in China being infected.
Yep.
It can easily be spread around. I wanted to bring something up last week, maybe not even a week ago. A woman here in my town was pregnant in her third trimester. She went to the hospital. Something they thought started out as a bad cold got worse and worse, and then she died. And could not save the baby. And they ruled it meningitis with respiratory symptoms. That's mind-boggling because I have some medical background also, and I looked up the symptoms right away because it sounded so weird to me, and there are no respiratory symptoms for that.
That's right, there are none.
Yeah. And it was very sudden, and I only found it because of a GoFundMe page a link had been circulated around.
Right.
So it was quite a surprise, but what really caught me off guard is when I read it. It said that, understandably, of course, the husband and their young child were in seclusion and wanted some time alone.
Sure.
Okay, that's understandable.
Yeah.
But what if it weren't just that?
Yeah, I thought that when you said it. I thought, what if it wasn't seclusion? What if it was quarantine?
Or just for observation and such.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's It's a disturbing thing that can get anywhere.
Yep.
There's a funny joke that if the end of the world comes, you come to Bismarck, North Dakota, because everything gets here 10 years later.
Yeah, well, apparently not.
Yeah, not in this case.
All
I wanted
right.
to bring up another point.
Go ahead.
About prepping. About prepping.
Yep.
Okay? I have been shopping a local home improvement store that sells some grocery stuff, and they have canned goods for 50 cents a can. I go to the dollar stores and get stuff for 50 cents a can or $1 a can or dry foods, all these things that you often talk about loading up on.
Yep.
I probably have enough food that by myself I live a year. And it was easy. I just spent an extra $40, $50 a week. You know, maybe not everybody has that.
Right.
You know, I don't exactly make a great living either.
Me neither.
But I just focused and I did it, and it wasn't that hard. You know.
All right. Well, it's a good point you raise.
I think everybody can prep if they really want to, if they really see the need to.
Well, I hope they see the need, because I've been telling them for weeks, this is getting bad. It's coming here. You got to prep. They're doing quarantines. What are you going to do if you can't go out of the house for 6 weeks? You got to have enough food. You got to have enough water. You got to have enough medicine. You know, I could talk till I'm blue in the face. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
That's right, brother. I just want to say thank you for your hard work.
You're welcome, and thank you for calling in.
Yep.
You know, folks, while we're on the subject of my hard work, today is February 19th. The last week of every month is fundraising week, because this radio show has no commercial sponsors. Those breaks every 15 minutes are public service announcements. They don't generate revenue. I have no commercial sponsors, and that's by design, because if you have commercial sponsors and then you do free speech radio and people start talking about opinions that other people don't like, then they start doing advertiser boycotts. And the advertisers call up and say, you got to stop talking about such and such, because otherwise I'm going to pull my advertising money. So this show is designed around listener support. Now, if I was to wait until next Wednesday, which is the 26th, before I asked you to make a donation, then that would leave me only 1, 2, 3 days until the bills came due. And I got to tell you, the bills this month are a wallop. I am getting killed on internet bandwidth charges, because so many people are tuning in on the net, but more importantly, reading the articles on the website. You know, I have to pay for the radio time for these radio transmitters, WBCQ, WRMI, KYAH, but I also have to pay for the website. And every time somebody clicks and reads a story, that's called data transfer charges. Bandwidth. It may be free for you to read, but it's not free for me to put up. I pay for all that data transfer. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have to ask you tonight, a little earlier than usual, please, if you find this radio show informative, if you realize that this is the only media outlet, mass media outlet, broadcast all over the country, many countries in the world. This is the only place that's telling you what's really happening with this coronavirus. This is the only place that's telling you about what's going on in the Middle East and showing you why it could drag our countries into another world war. My website's the only place that not only tells you what's happening with this coronavirus, but offers you links to go here. Go get this to store water. Go get that for emergency food. Go here to get emergency filter masks. I'm doing all this with the hope that you will throw a couple bucks in an envelope and make a donation. Now, on my website, there's a donate button. And my website address is Hal, H-A-L, Turner, T-U-R-N-E-R, radioshow.com. Donate button is in the right-hand column. You click that. You can use either a credit card, or debit card. Or you can use PayPal. You don't have to be a PayPal member. And if you could click that and please donate, $5, $10, $20. Some of you can send 50 or 100. I am getting killed this month with bandwidth charges. The first 5 days of February, $1,400. I had to do away with the videos coming out of China because I was getting slaughtered with bandwidth charges. So I'm going to need like $6,000 this month just to pay the bills and be able to continue next month. All right, I'm going to need like $6,000. Usually it's $4,200. I'm going to need like $6,000. So if you could please make a donation. And also, I'm going to go back to the phones because I got 4 callers on hold. I'm going to give my mailing address. Those of you who, cannot or will not use online financial transactions, I'm going to give out my mailing address. And if you want to send cash or check or money order, that would be cool. But please don't think somebody else is going to do it, because they don't. I really, really need your help this month. All right? So either go to my website, click the donate button, or have pen and paper ready. I'm going to give you my mailing address before we go off the air. Let me go back to the phones. Hi, caller. Thanks for holding. You're on the air. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hal, it's a geriatric door gunner from the land of enchantment.
The geriatric door gunner. Welcome.
I was listening last night on the computer.
Uh-huh.
And were you aware of what was going on with your... Hi, this is Hal Turner, broadcasting from Metro. And the music would play again, and you come back and say, "Hi, this is Hal Turner." I mean, that's like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, I'm now told we are under heavy denial of service attack on the internet. Apparently, somebody doesn't want this information coming out.
Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah. Well, they screwed up, because now that I know I'm under attack, I'm just going to put the archive up for the public to listen to for free. They can't block that.
Okay, yeah. Preps. By all means.
Yeah, preps. Go ahead.
I have the same problem with my own kids. You insure your life, which you'll never see a nickel of while you're still alive.
Right, you pay for life insurance, yep.
Yep, yeah, that's why people are typically worth more dead than alive.
Yep.
You insure your car. Yeah. What, you planning on knocking down poles with it?
No, you do it just in case.
Just in case. And you have insurance on your house? Or you got fire insurance on the house? Well, yeah, I think I'll just build a little fire in the living room.
No.
Yeah, this is stupid. So why not have some food in the house to insure? I mean, that's real life insurance.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look.
What you're paying for is death insurance.
And what we're talking about with these preps, we're talking about a couple 20-pound bags of rice. What is that, $7 a bag? You get 20 pounds of rice. And how about, 20, 30 cans of, how about chunky soup? It's $1.99 a can. You pour the soup over the rice, and you got a dinner. It's great. And you live. You got to have 6 weeks worth of food, 8 weeks worth of food in the house.
There is a young lady who does a presentation, I think it's on YouTube still, that proved that you can store enough food for a family under a twin bed.
Wow.
She said, she lays out the whole system. She has what she does is she sets up 14 menus.
Yeah.
What breakfast and dinner.
Yeah. All right. But anyway, go on. Please continue your point.
It's out there. Okay. The other thing, I think you might want to check a Dennis Prager University video on the difference between a liberal and a leftist. I think we're being surrounded by Marxist, leftist, Leninist
Trotskyites, yeah.
Dirty words and dirty words. So, and don't worry about only having 4,000 emails. I mean, I'm up to about 9,000 the last time I checked.
It's over 9,000.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, geriatric door gunner in the land of enchantment. Thanks for calling in.
Okay, very good, my friend. You have a good evening.
You too. Good night. Hi, caller. You're on the Hal Turner Show. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Hal. It's Swamp Yankee.
My caller number 11 tonight. How are you?
Good. Wanted to relay something to you. We were standing around after church service last Saturday, small group, and one of the group mentioned the coronavirus.
Yeah.
So then another member of the group started speaking, and this person says, well, she's got a very close relative that works in the CDC who's been calling her every day, telling her stuff, and she was relating to us exactly what you have been saying, including that text message exchange between that lady and the CDC.
Yeah.
It was like verbatim, and I know she doesn't know anything about, your website or stuff like that. She was food in the house, and take your shoes off and spray them bottom with Lysol and spray stuff that comes into the house with Lysol. I left there just shocked. Now, I believed what you said, and I had done the preps and all that, but I was shocked when I left there. When you actually hear somebody who says, my brother who works in the CDC told me this, it's like, whoa, oh.
Yeah. You see, and the information you're getting on this radio show is not being broadcast by other media outlets. You don't read this in the paper. You don't see it on TV. You don't hear it on other radio shows.
No.
So I hope to be a real value to people. I'm trying to get folks to save their own lives.
Absolutely.
All righty.
We got our preps. We started going to an additional step.
Oh.
When we go to the store right now, and we run out of something, because you just can't think of everything that you're supposed to be prepping for. I mean, you use so many things in your life. We just don't buy one, we buy two. It's like we ran out of, we used our last bag of split peas to make pea soup.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, let's start buying two.
Yep.
Just don't buy one, buy two.
Yep.
Because then you got a little extra.
Yep.
We implemented that.
All right.
Russia, you're exactly right. It's a white Christian nation. They want to be accepted by the
world.
West. They consider themselves to be part of the West. And the thing Trump needs to do is stay out of the conflict between Turkey and Russia.
Yep.
Let them handle it. And poor Erdogan is going to get his sweet cheeks handed to him.
Oh, I can't wait.
No uncertain terms.
I can't wait.
No uncertain terms.
I want to see the Russians just stomp all over them.
My wife, who is Hungarian, the Hungarians today still don't trust the Turks from what they did during the Ottoman Empire.
Yep.
So that's, they haven't been in Hungary since 1815 or some year like that.
Yeah, but people remember the barbarism.
Absolutely. The memories burnt into their soul.
All right, I got to let you go, man.
You do. Subscribe. Everybody subscribe. I want, 50, 60 subscribers today.
That'd be so cool.
So then Hal doesn't have to worry about it.
All right.
Take care.
Swamp Yankee, South Carolina. Thanks for the call. Hey, caller, thanks for holding on. You're on the air. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
American Madman from the cold southern shores of Lake Erie, Hal.
American Madman, Lake Erie. Welcome.
Hey, so that makes your dirty dozen.
Yes.
So for Vic and Pastor Sam, do we call that Jesus and his 12 disciples tonight?
What's on your mind?
Hey, in fact, the last call I had with you, I kind of got lost on the us versus them
yes
mentality. in our country, in our world. And just everything, just anything these days just plays to emotion instead of reason to get us for the manipulation.
Yeah.
And it's a whole powers that be versus the people, and the powers that be, not one entity. There's certainly several entities out there trying to manipulate the world. It's the whole divide and conquer method. Let your enemy fight your enemy. And the census coming out here this year, and on any of these forums here in America, particularly, always asking for race and ethnicity.
Yeah.
Trying to separate everybody. It's you want everybody, you want the equality, but then you constantly try to separate everybody. So for race anymore, for anybody, what you do is you put human, and if they ask for ethnicity, if you're a citizen, you put American. It's as simple as that. Hey, so just to move on, for people who are scared of the current times, then relating to emotion, hey, nothing you can do about it. Let the chips fall where they may. All we can do is call out the shit when we see it, and see where it all comes out in the end.
All right, then. American Madman.
Hey, real quick, too, canned food. Don't forget about beans, because that's talking fiber, protein, and iron for those major sources there. So,
all right, American Madman in the shores of Lake Erie. Thanks for calling in. Folks, I hope you have your pen and paper ready. I'm going to give my mailing address with the hope, the prayer, that you guys will find this radio show worth, a few bucks, $5, $10, $20, whatever you can. Some of you can only send $2, but the bills are going to be like monstrous this month, and I really, 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 really need help. All right, let me go back to the phones. Hey, caller, you're on the air. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hey there, it's Jared from Galveston, Texas.
Jared in Galveston, welcome.
Yeah, be sure you give out your mailing address, because instead of a PayPal donation this month, I'm going to send you a jumbo pack of toilet paper. How about that?
Okay.
I figured that might be more valuable in the long run than a donation. What do you think?
I don't know, man. Whatever you want.
No, I sent you money.
All right, we are running up against the clock, Jared, so make your point, please.
Okay. The point I see here is that the U.S. is making the same mistake that China made in the early days when they knew that virus was loose, by squelching any kind of concern, any kind of spread of information about it. And they only came out later when they couldn't help it. And I work as a captain on a small cruise line ship company, and I sent my concerns over to the company. And because of the lack of information that we need, and especially in the marine industry, for guidelines and different things that we need to do to protect the passengers and the crew, there's nothing. And so the company looks at the information and says, well, there's a lot of hysteria out there, but it's a Southeast Asia problem, and we don't operate in Southeast Asia, and the airport screens these people, so we don't have to worry about it. It's sort of the attitude that they have. And that's the attitude people have now. They think, people in this country think, actually are getting the information that it's getting better, that the numbers are plateauing or going down. It's all going to blow over in a month, and it'll all be behind us.
Wrong.
And I'll tell you, that is just, it's frustrating.
All right, Jared. Really, well, I appreciate you bringing this to our attention. Despite the facts, despite the information, the public perception is, it's no big deal.
Yep.
All right, man. Thanks for the call.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me give my mailing address out so you can send cash, check, or money. I got 3 callers. There's no way I'm going to get to all 3, but I'll get as many in as I can. All right, for those of you who want to help support this endeavor, make sure that this kind of information continues to be broadcast. I need you to send cash, check, or money order to Harold, Harold. That's my legal first name. Last name is Turner, Turner. My mailing address is 1906. Patterson, P-A-T-E-R-S-O-N, Plank, P-L-A-N-K, Road. Apartment 1A. And the town I live in is North Bergen, B-E-R-G-E-N, New Jersey, abbreviated NJ. And the postal zip code is 07047. All right? Harold Turner, 1906 Patterson Plank Road, Apartment 1A, North Bergen, New Jersey, 07047. Of course, that's in the USA. Those of you listening outside the United States, you can send cash in your country's currency, and I will get it converted to U.S. dollars when it arrives here. I had 20 British pounds arrived in the mail on Monday, so I'll get that converted. But please, folks, help out in any little way you can, because the bills are really going to be big this month. This coronavirus has got a lot of people, tuning in, and a lot of people visiting the website. I'm going to need all the help I can get. And those of you who are, better off financially, if you can help with 50, 100, whatever, God bless you, because I need all the help I can get. All right, let me get back to the phones. Hey, caller, you're on the air. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hello, Hal. It's Tom in Oregon calling.
Tom in Oregon.
Hey, I got a few things for the listeners. With the R0 value of the virus we're dealing with, everybody's going to come in contact with it. So you got to get ready with things that can keep you healthy. You want to be getting colloidal silver. You want to be getting Apex water, which is a colloidal silver that's super fine, from mitocopper.com. That's MITO copper.com. Also, I saw a great video from Cliff High, halfpasthuman.com. It's titled Critical Thinking Coronavirus Update 5% Posture-Free Steps to Take. In the video, he talks about his holistic doctor from China in Wuhan. He's an herbalist, and they were saying that chaga mushroom is super antiviral. It has terpenols in it from the birch trees. A great video to check out. Vitamin D and vitamin C in really high doses is really good for antiviral as well. Get your preps in, people. I just picked up chickens. I got meat rabbit. Get ready. With the Russia and Turkey thing,
yep.
The turkeys need to be stomped. The Russians declared holy war against ISIS years ago. They're not going to give up, and they're not going to bow to Erdogan, who's a total dictator, maniac, Muslim fanatic. So they deserve stomped.
All righty. Well, Tom in Oregon, I got to let you go, man. I'm running out of time. Folks, you've been listening to the Hal Turner Show, live from New York City. I'm here Monday through Friday, 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Tonight, Wednesday, it's a special thing. We do 2 hours on Wednesdays. I am so grateful that so many of you tuned in, and I hope you find this show worthy of your support. Please tell your family, your friends, your neighbors to tune in, because it seems to me that no other media outlet is getting you the information that you're getting here. Thanks so much for listening. I'm Hal Turner. Good night from New York City.